Hello, Steve here. Welcome to Kinitrology, the study of incentives. Kinitro, ancient Greek for incentive. Ology is the study of incentives. So today you've clicked on it. For the recorded people, for the live people, I don't think I've put, yes I have, in the title. Marriage, relationships and marriage. That's what it is today. Relationships and marriage. So what's happening with relationships and marriage? Many people will suggest where we're going wrong. Are we going wrong? If there's a high divorce rate, does that mean wrong? Maybe. There might be some wrong for people to choose to divorce. So, wrong for who? Wrong for society? Yes. That's the part I agree with. I'm going to fix up the wonkiness of the live. You can tell it's live because this is recorded and it's still disorganized, but it's still an uptick in my production value. It used to be in a jumpy, silly, bloody car. So, where are we going wrong? Is it wrong? Yes. It's about the kids, relationships and marriage. Let's not forget, it's about our kids. Okay, and once we get married and we're baking in the oven. I'm baking a kid in the oven now, and we're due end of June, early July. Ooh. So, are we better than we used to be? Not for the kids. It wasn't always a positive existence for our kids because we used to think spare the rod, spoil the child, or something like that. Doesn't even actually make sense. That rod thing is guidance. This is falling down again. Falling down again. I just can't wait to be falling down again. So, for the podcast people, my live recording was falling. So, it was never totally pleasant for a child, and it's still not totally pleasant, but it's more pleasant, perhaps, than it's ever been, in different ways. We are not treating our children too well when we offload them in daycare, when there's another low rent, $20 an hour, $25 an hour, usually lady these days. Only 2% of childcare workers are men, I think, even worse than that. And the woman chooses to go to work, and when you account for the average salary, that's falling down again. When you account for the average salary, you're working 40 hours. Let's take into account your transport, your fancy outfit, whatever, for mum, second car, lunches, makeup, $2 or $3 an hour. That's all you're getting. And we're losing our bond with our kids when we work. And we've chosen to do that. We think it's giving we're getting some worth out of this. But maybe not. Yes, the kids aren't being belted with belts and rods and hands. Yes, they're not being belted because guess what? We made it illegal. Good step. Let's keep our kids home. Let's educate our kids at home, perhaps. Oh, but we can't do that. We need 2 incomes. Well, don't expect your child to not put you in a nursing home then. So, yes, so I've started with kids. Usually when people suggest relationships and marriage, we're talking about the difference, what's happening with the men and the women, and then we can go on with the whole other genders thing, and that's not where I'm going because I'm not skilled. I could attempt to be. I could go forever on all that alternative LGBTQI plus stuff, but this is more traditional. Let's not forget why you are here. You're birthed by a birthing person. Yeah. By the ladies, okay? By the mum. We forget that these days, we forget the transition of maiden to mother to matriarch. And women, they want to be the matriarch into their 40th year and beyond. Maybe that is bringing us into half the women 50 years plus are on mental health meds. Let's bring it back to the younger crowd. Only the top 10 or 20% of the boys are getting access. All the women are giving the access. Those 10 or 20% of the guys are taking advantage of the atomic option, the access. And then we think, what's going on? Tell you what's going on. Yes, the women are quite rightly got higher expectations. Good. And the dudes. They don't have to work so hard because they're being satisfied online. And then with both of the producing sexes are doing each other in. We're stuffing ourselves up. What do you mean? Easy access, higher body count, less bonding, after 5 or 10 partners for the ladies. And then you find yourself not being able to bond, higher divorce rates, because also, particularly higher status type women want a 6-figure income dude. And let's face it, a very low percentage of any gender is earning more than 6 figures or into 6 figures and beyond. If you talk about the 1%, you know what 1% of income earners are on this planet? About $40,000 to $45,000 Aussie, $30,000 US. And if you're earning 60, 90, 200K a year, you're doing much better than the 1%. Oh, but not in my country. My GDP average is like 60 grand in Australia. Oh yeah, you want to change the goalpost, do you? You want to change the goalpost? No, don't change the goalpost. And if you're thinking that aren't well off enough, don't have a house, this and that, and you're not going to have kids, not good. And if you're 30 without a child, you got a 50% chance of not having kids. We got to the point where, South Korea, 0.8% population, 0.8 child per 0.8 of one child per woman. At that rate, by the end of the century, no more Koreans. China is going to halve their population. So we are in a bit of a bind. And it all starts with an improvement in living standards, education access for ladies, and I'll reference in the manosphere episode yesterday that women are hypergamous. They sort of marry side and up, but usually they are aiming up, especially if they're higher status. And most of the online content, let's face it, is higher status ladies, higher status in looks, and also higher status in academia, hence jobs. 2/3 of academic graduation is now female. What are the guys doing? Getting fat, getting neck beards, playing computer games, and getting satisfied online. And those ultra competitive and achieving women, the 10 and 20% of them, go for the 2% of men, and the whole place is erupted. We forget about the men that score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the ladies that are a 1.2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We only talk about the 7, 8, 9, 10. A 3 will say I'm a 7. A 7 will say I'm a 9 with the ladies, and the dude will just say 7. If he's a 10, he's just going to say 7. Silly, that whole self-described sort of status thing. Online apps, not even worse, but we'd be there even without those online apps. Ladies, of course, are getting greater return from the apps. The gents, 10% get all the action. Another 10% get a few likes and messages, and the rest just get ignored. That's the reality. The engineers that collect all the data, they're not afraid of, oh, you can't say that, you can't show that. They just collect the data. I've referenced in the past on this channel that Google engineers book, A Billion Wicked Thoughts, and where most of the searches up until, 2012 or 2016, something like that, where the gents were on their porn. So it was all visual, and the ladies also on the porn stuff, but a little bit story related. Taming the high status male, whether it a billionaire, doctor, lawyer, pilot type thing, a werewolf, pirate, what else? One of those, the werewolf, just a beastly character. Just taming a high status, aggressive male. Criminal? Was criminal one of them? I don't know. So it's a bit of a shelling game for the lower status male and female, the higher status male and female. The higher status male will just say thank you very much. The higher status female is watching herself, still not nabbing the 9 or a 10, even though she's a 9 or 10, because the 9 or 10 dude has got more 9 or 10 to do, if you know what I mean. And with the status game, the lifestyles, we do think, we assume that we've got the whole, not empathy, jealousy. What's that term? Anyway, it might come to me. Let's go for jealousy. That all these great lifestyles, envy. And did anyone say envy? No. So, and the incentives are clear. This is the incentive. Space, Kinitrology after all. And how does this fit into Kinitrology? Well, it speaks for itself. The guys are being satisfied. The whole visual thing. A 14, 15-year-old boy sees enough naked women online, more than a king used to in their entire life, in 15 seconds. The high status woman is used to hear stories where she's so high status that no one approaches her. You reckon? And now with some of the online content with the OnlyFans and the like, there's income in there. People talk about gender pay gaps and the like. How about the gender pay gap in modelling and porn? Yes, reverse pay gap, hey? We don't complain about that one. And also I forgot to mention in the manosphere episode yesterday that the manosphere has it fairly right for 90%. Are we going to do 80%? Maybe. Let's say 80% of women, when they get their income, it's only spent on them. With the dudes, yes, they spend their money on toys and the like. They gamble it. I've had my time in gambling in financial markets. And I still gamble in financial markets. Very modest amounts. But most of a man's income goes to the partner and then the family. A dude is able to have a particular life, 10% of their income, 90% goes to the partner and the child. More on the incentives. Women now have a fallback, an insurance policy. This dude, he showed signs of making a quid, getting a promotion, getting a better job, studying. Oh, he's got to be an engineer. He's smoking. He's gambling. Flick that guy. I've got some, and there's, in the US, there's alimony, then there's child support, then there's social security payments. And then that's the incentive to flick the guy. Before, there used to be better, closer vetting. We used to live in closer communities, villages, and the like. Dunbar's number, we've heard of that before. And we used to vet our partner very harshly, very diligently. But these days it's like, cute. They work in an office. Right. Drinking, smoking, womanizing for the chaps and the lady, Botox, makeup, OnlyFans, what? And then we blow up, we divorce, break up, whatever relationship status you're in, and then we go again. Yes, not all of us, but a growing number. And that growing number, if you divorce once, you got a greater chance of divorcing the next time, and the next time, and the next time, next time. People would ask me, how many times? As many as it takes. Hey! Yeah. I was wondering what that was. What was that on the live screen up there? So, the incentives is an insurance policy for the ladies. For the dude, the incentive not to marry is in play with the whole incels and the MGTOWs, where don't get married, you're just going to get taken for a ride. And many ignore that and they choose elsewhere in the world, if you know what I mean. You know, a 50-year-old guy marrying some 20-year-old chick from a third world country. And the reason why we find ourselves in this fluid state of flux in relationships and therefore marriages, there's no consequence. Well, there is. But there's plenty of insurance on the other side. With the welfare state idea. How many minutes am I going? Oh yeah, not too bad. I'll start wrapping up. So the incentives should be for family and kids. What's going to get us there? addressing the meaning crisis, trying to see what meaning is. That might be the next episode. That's a next episode idea. What is the meaning of life? Ooh. On the meaning of life. Yeah, there's a clue for you. The next episode. Tomorrow. Stay tuned. Let's not forget, it's for our prodigy, our progenitor, which other obscure words do you want for children? Legacy, jewels, culture, sustaining a culture. Very conservative ideas, aren't they? And the whole liberal idea that we're going on, people think that is planned to destroy us and for control and for this and that. Well, I don't think so. I don't think so one bit. We just found ourselves there because we're just in the desert, trying to navigate how to manage with all this freedom, with this mobility. Mobility gave us all this freedom. And what gave us our mobility was economic progress. And then what gave us our economic progress was philosophical freedom, progress. And the whole Descartes and Kant, and then we had the continental and philosophers, and then had Karl Marx in there somewhere, and then Nietzsche, and then current days with Jordan Peterson and the manosphere and the woke and everything. And it's just, are we too free? Is that an issue? Are we in the desert? Just floundering in the desert. And we need some structure. But the people that have this proclivity to want to be free because the conservative or the moral types, the synonym for conservative is moral, that we use interchangeably, which, no, it's not the case. We shouldn't be used like that. Moral does not mean conservative. We like to massage our linguistics, our linguistic gymnastics that we get into. And the people that have a proclivity to being hedonistic, whimsical, not so conservative, take that freedom and run with it. And that's where most of our relationships and marriages end up. They suffer as the result of less kids. And unfortunately for the kids that are born, and then we have toxic relationships, toxic masculinity, toxic femininity. Well, you don't think there's toxic femininity? Let's just say toxic humans. And the way we can be toxic is we've lost the risk of ostracism. We've got this key. It's called, what's the key called? What can I call it? You can see this is done on the fly. What's the key called? It's called freedom to leave. Freedom to leave your community, family, your Dunbar's number, your village, even if you live in the same house, disagreeable with your more conservative or even your more liberal household, and you just can't stand the liberal mayhem they perhaps engage in, and you're a bit more conservative as a young person, you go onto your screen and you've left with your mind to the screen. That's why we've gone freer, because there's less risk of ostracism, because we can hide our activities when you're a bit more liberal, maybe hedonistic. Don't worry, the conservatives can be hedonistic too. We leave that incongruent, the space that doesn't fit our needs. Even if we're there with body, we leave with our mind, and the relationship of the body in that household suffers. what I just said there in the last minute, I feel like that was golden. And I'm going to end there. A decent amount of time. I'm going to stop the podcast and the video while I wrap up in the live. Right, until the next time, will I get to 2.3 listeners and viewers? Because I've got about 1.4 now. Right, until tomorrow. What did I say tomorrow's episode was going to be? The meaning of life. That's right. Right. Bye-bye.